Hey, I'm Brian.
I'm Rosalind, and this is our YouTube channel, The Overflow.
Where today we're going to talk about the lessons that we've learned in marriage, or
Yeah, so we're doing this, and we have come up with a preliminary structure of how we want this thing to go. It might stay the same, it might change. Follow us as we learn and grow and become proficient
yeah.
at doing a YouTube channel. We have no idea. But we're willing and open to learn and have fun on the way. So, yes, the first thing we're starting with is we're each going to share what we're learning this week. And then we're going to move on to either a hot topic, which it won't be, if we reference celebrities, it's not talking about them and what's going on in their life, because this isn't a gossip channel. But what we're going to do is just extract the real life lessons that can come from those situations that probably apply to a wide variety of people, or hypothetically.
Yeah, just following that. I was going to ask you, because Brittany Garner just got out.
We're going to start off with the lessons we learned, though.
Lessons that we learned.
Yes, and then we're going to finish, and then we're going to finish with sharing this past week how we felt loved by the other person.
Okay. Well, go ahead and tell me what you've been learning this week.
What I've been learning this week is how to not hold a grudge.
Okay. How do you not hold a grudge?
I don't know yet. So I'm still learning. So I am a recovering, controlling person. And while still recovering from behaving that way, every once in a while I have setbacks where it's just difficult to let go. And so this past week, Ryan hurt my feelings and we resolved it. And logically, you understand your brain wants to move on, but like your heart is like, nah, he hurt your feelings. Be passive aggressive. Yeah. Don't let him touch you, And so my lesson this week, and with the help of therapy, which we were big advocates for therapists, whether it's individual therapy or counseling, marriage therapy and counseling, and if you can afford all of it, do all of it. Anyway, so with me, it's just getting to a place where my brain and heart align, and I know his intentions are always good, and he's literally never malicious towards me, and letting that be the overriding factor in just staying in my feelings. It's okay to feel. It's okay to express being hurt, and it's okay to let yourself sit in your feelings for a little bit, but don't wallow and don't live there. And so my lesson this week has been not just putting a time frame or anything like that too strict and legalistic and ruly on how long to sit in your feelings, but also like helping myself move through, Don't, if I've heard the analogy of feelings being a tunnel, or metaphor or whatever, being a tunnel, and don't live in a tunnel, move through it, and don't avoid the tunnel either. Just move through it and letting myself keep moving, because at the end of the day, I'm the one in my feelings and holding us back from emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, and just because I'm sitting in my feelings, and I don't want to be disconnected because I'm in my feelings, but sometimes it be like that, and I'm still learning how to keep moving through the tunnel of my feelings, and that's been my biggest lesson this week.
Okay. I think what I'm learning is how to like just take a moment to like not be defensive. Like just piggyback off the situation. I made you upset. And I think I was was wanting to like connect and wanting to like help, get through the ruts, you know what I'm saying? So but in that, I think defending my actions, wanting to defend myself, and it came disguised as me wanting to understand her, wanting to understand you and trying to show up, but me giving reasons to why you shouldn't feel the way you feel. If I would have just take a moment to myself and thought of a way to like, how can I ask this question, or how can I really hear her right now, then also taking a second for myself, realizing, hey man, what she just said kind of stung, so maybe I just need to take a break or take a couple deep breaths. I tell my son all the time, when he's frustrated or flustered, or I'm like, hey man, just take a couple deep breaths, think about it, refocus. And I just needed that advice for myself. I think I would have better assessed the situation and even been able to show up really and hear her feelings and validate them instead of trying to defend myself or disprove those feelings, and then
because sometimes feelings are not logical.
Well, yeah, feelings cannot be logical sometimes, and sometimes we're two different people and we have two different experiences. So, and both of our feelings matter. So I've just learned, like, it's better for me to just not invalidate and try to understand where she's coming from and help her feel that way, and she's gonna help me feel that way. If we both can connect. But if I'm over there saying, this is not true, that's not true, or what about this? Look at this, that's not gonna get her to see my point of view or even come down, because she feels like I'm not seeing her and I'm not hearing her. So really I'm learning, take a moment, take a break, and really make sure that you're asking, you're hearing, and you're listening. And that's really key, That's what I'm feeling. But that leads me to the next question. All right? I know I get on your nerves sometimes. We're talking about, the news is, Brittney Griner got out today. She's back. They traded her for the arms dealer, But, it's interesting, man. You get locked up. I was thinking, like, if I was in that situation, how long would you wait?
This is assuming if I don't go straight 007 and come get you.
You get stopped. They be like, hey, man, you can't go nowhere.
I don't know.
I'm over in
and
Russia.
It's easy to say what you would do, right? Because it's unfathomable.
Yeah, it's a long time, man.
Yeah. But so you're saying if you were just arrested.
Yeah, if I was arrested, they caught me with the, whatever whatever I get caught with, weed, vaping, whatever.
And you don't do none of that.
No, I don't. But they came me on Russia, they may get you.
So let's say they planted something on you.
Yeah.
It wasn't yours. They planted something on you. Does it have to be Russia or could it be here?
It could be here.
It's just the fact that you went to jail.
I'm just in jail.
And they say you're gonna be gone for
no
what was
her
visits.
It's lettuce. Just writing letters. I'm eating boards, just working out.
Phone calls.
Yeah, phone calls.
So what was her sentence again? It was 7 or 9 years.
It was, I don't know, but it was gonna be a long enough time to end her career,
Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking how ridiculous that was. What would I do?
Yeah, what would you do?
We've been together for so long. I would, first of all, I just couldn't imagine. Could you imagine, I'm going to answer your question, but could you imagine if you went away, you as an abstract person, if you went away and they said you're going to be gone 9 years and your people's, your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, your boyfriend, whoever, moved on because they were just like, nah, I'm not waiting 9 years. And just like with Brittany Griner, you got out in 8 months.
Yo.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, that'd be a different kind of attitude because I don't know, like just me personally.
Could you imagine? They wasn't like they was going hard during trial.
Yeah,
and then when that sentence came down, they was like, nah, I can't. And then you got out because they were just like, yeah, he don't deserve to be in this long.
Boy, I would have.
Could you imagine a person who left?
I would.
And then being like, oh shoot.
Hey, well, that's on them. I'm just saying, like, if that was me in that situation, you know,
I'm holding it down.
You hold, of course.
We have a son.
Yeah.
We've been together forever. I think in a year or two we will be together longer than we haven't. Like literally half our lives, more than half our lives. Yeah. And yeah, so it's just it's not even a second thought. I would move in the world like a married single mother, because I'd have to kind of be a single mom because I'm the only one doing it, you know. Yeah, but I just wouldn't.
Out the parent from Russia, you know, with love, you know. Just write a letter. Okay. I don't know. That's why. Hey, I would.
Parent from Russia.
Yeah, man. I would be in
We're
the jail.
Stuck on being in Russia. I thought we said we could be here.
Well, but here, you know, I'm gonna see him. So, you know what I'm saying? I was just thinking about, you know, just the whole
monthly visits.
Just the whole thing. You know, probably weekly, you know, if I'm here.
Yeah, I would be organizing. I would be writing letters. I would be organizing. Because you don't do anything, literally, to get arrested and to be sent away for any amount of time, let alone that amount of time. So somebody lied, and justice will prevail, because I'm not taking, oh, he got to be gone. And even if, say, you did just make some really bad decisions and didn't tell me about it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm still holding it down.
You still holding it down? Okay.
Yeah, what if I got sent away?
I'm gonna be there, you know. I'm gonna be, you know, writing letters, showing up. You know, if you're here, you know, of course I'm gonna be fighting. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey man, you know, free my baby. I'm gonna have shirts made. You know, I'm gonna post. I'm gonna make videos. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to get you out. You know, the warden's gonna be like, "Hey man, I need you to do this favor for me." If man, I got you. Just get my wife out. You know, yeah. Even if I gotta run for office or whatever. Said Herschel could do it.
Except he didn't.
He didn't win though. But hey, yo, he came close. They had to do it again.
We live in Georgia, and we had to go vote again.
Yeah. This
past Tuesday, because we were just like, nah, bro, we not.
I could talk about more than werewolves and vampires, you know. So I think I'm good for politics. I could do that, you know. I could work my way to get you out, to get you out of jail, you know. But let's go ahead and talk about our lessons, you know, our lessons that we learned.
Next segment.
Yeah. Next segment. So the lessons that you've learned, and like, what is the most important lesson that you've learned in our marriage over the years? What do you think is the number one?
How to love. So, but there's so much in that, because love is a verb, and it is a hefty one. Love is not just the feeling, butterflies and warm fuzzy feeling. It is what you do and what you choose to do. And I know if anyone is like me, who grew up in the church, you know, we are told all the time, you know, love your neighbors like you love yourself, love you. And then you get told, especially as a girl. You know, how to love your husband and submit to him and, you know, all those things. But when that Bible verse, love your neighbor like you love yourself, it's assumed that you love yourself, that you know how to do that, right? Yeah. That's what I had to learn. In the most recent, probably like past 5 years, 3-ish, more refined, but I looked up one day and realized I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't just practically know how to do that. So that's when I started therapy. And literally, she was like, what are your goals? And I was like, I don't know how to love myself. I don't know what that looks like. And learning how to love myself then helped me heal from things that I needed to heal. It helped me let God love me. It helped me then communicate to my husband the way that I needed to be loved, instead of expecting him to know, because he was not born knowing how to love me.
That's true.
I need to communicate, and he's willing, right? And so I could have been with a man who wasn't willing, but my husband is willing, and so I just needed to tell him what I need, what are my needs. And I think people expect their spouses to just know through osmosis, like just know me in a way that I don't even know myself.
Say, pay attention.
That I've said those words before.
You're like, oh, you know, you're looking.
Yeah, and you know, you just expect your spouse to know, and I'm not saying you. I expected my spouse to know me in ways that I didn't know myself. That's unfair and it's unrealistic. And so in doing that for myself, then my husband was able to witness that and go on his own journey of like learning himself and loving himself, and then able to communicate with me how he needs to be loved. And now the next phase of the love in our home, in my lessons, is now learning how to love him, because, you know, we talk about the love languages, but it's not all encompassing. And it's a really great, Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. If you haven't heard of it, I don't know where you've been, but it's a book, very popular, New York Times bestselling list for like so many weeks,
a well-known book.
Years. Yeah. And so, if nothing else, that book is a great introduction to the concept of people give and receive love differently than other people. And when you take the little tests and do things like that, it's just a great starting point. It's definitely not an end-all be-all, but just to be able to say, hey, I feel loved when you spend quality time with me. And we knew that, right? But then even more recently, I had to become more specific and get a more refined version of like what does that look like? And then my husband with his words of affirmation and like, okay, just giving me random compliments and saying thank you that's not it for me. You have to be specific about what I did and what the impact was for you. And so now I know how to move, you know, going forward. It's like positive feedback basically. And so just being more specific in things and being able to communicate clearly, not just how I want to be loved and then him communicating with me how to love, but then also pulling from the God source and having the ability to give that love to ourselves and each other. And I mean, I used to be of the mind of like, I can't go out to eat by myself. That's weird. I don't want to go to movies by myself. But my love language is quality time. So I've learned to spend quality time with myself, you know? And now I love my movie dates. I went to go see Woman King by myself. Yeah. And when I go on my movie dates, I go to Studio Movie Grill. Like, I don't... when when I date myself, we go into a place where the seat reclines. I can have a drink, a little something to eat if I want. Food's not that great, at least in the location near us. I don't know about the one near you. Might be amazing, but the food isn't. So I usually eat before I go and then have a drink once I'm there. But either way, and I always pick a time where it's not going to be crowded. So it's me and like 5 other people in the whole theater, feet up, and it's just it's an experience. And I just encourage everyone to figure out how to love yourself, because even to love yourself just for the sake of loving yourself and filling your cup. That's so important, because although I don't agree with the sentiment of we are not, I don't fully agree when they say like you're not responsible for your partner's happiness. Yeah. I agree that the sole responsibility doesn't lie in my hands or his hands as far as making me happy. But if we're doing life together, I absolutely want to contribute to his happiness, his joy, which is from a deeper, more spiritual place. That's between him and God. Mm-hmm. But as far as happiness, that's affected by your day-to-day, by your mood, by the situation that you're in. And, with me, the tidiness of the house and just things like that, right? And so if we can consciously contribute to the other person's happiness, aka love them in the way they feel loved, it makes a huge difference in the closeness and emotional safety, I believe, of your relationship. And so my biggest lesson has been love, learning what that looks like, how to do it for me, how to do it for my husband, and then for both of us, how to love our son.
And I could say, and just to piggyback off what you just said, just when I am loving myself correctly, I love you better. Learning how to love yourself and understand when you're not loving yourself, that will translate to other areas of your life. Especially when, even through our rougher times, I can see where I was missing this step of taking care of myself, looking at myself, and and then learning how to learning your love language and learning how to love you is very, very important. What was that book? The Levels of Love. Understanding, like, if I'm loving you, to get love back.
Oh no, not the levels of love. It was Scream Free Marriage. It's only on Audible.
Yeah, that's all. I was saying
there's no physical copy. Yeah. Oh, okay. It sounded like you're saying the book is The Levels of Love. No. Scream Free Marriage. First of all, we started with Scream Free Parenting. Mm-hmm. But Scream Free Marriage, I have to look at the author. But he, there's a concept in the book where he talks about like the 4 levels of love, and we realized you'll have to go look at it and listen to the book because it's really helpful. Also, it's important to say with anything that we reference, we are reading it with the mind of we'll take what applies and leave the rest. I think that's important to say before sending you to listen to that book.
Yeah, because there's certain things that, just with anything you read, you should discern.
We're not going to agree with everything in the book.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, just anything. If you're an adult and you are just being conscious about your walk and just growing, just self-work, you have to just look at everything just with an eye and just make sure you're just working through it, taking things and saying, okay, I do agree with this. I really don't agree with this. But what was good about that, it was just showing where if what the concept of what you call loving yourself and doing something to receive love, it was just saying like how that's not like truly
it's transactional.
Yeah, it's transactional love. Yeah. It's not like and I just going back to I think God was working with me with like that's not truly loving your spouse or really not loving anybody if you're just looking for love back, in that sense. But just operating in love. Like I'm loving you because that's how I love. Not I'm loving you because that's just a thing to do, So that's what the conclusion was. Okay.
But there was something I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Just an example. So when we're not loving ourselves, when you said it shows up in other places, right? So the other week, I was just more irritable, right? I was a little less patient. I was just seemed less me, right? And Brian was like, when's the last time you went to the gym? You need to go to the gym. You want to go to the gym today? You might want to go to the an insecure version of me, which thankfully didn't exist in that moment, would have been like, what you trying to say, I'm fat, you know? But what he was saying was, you need a release. You need to go burn off whatever's going on. You need an outlet to like physically release these things that are building up. And talking is cool, but our body, another book I read that was really great was Burnout. Emily Nagoski and her sister. I can't remember her sister's name, but Emily Nagoski. If you search Burnout by Emily Nagoski, she just talks about how certain hormones and chemicals build up in your body, and literally, just biologically speaking, the only way to get rid of them is to be physically active, whether that's
a workout or anything.
A workout, dancing, just standing and jumping up and down in place, or just shaking your body, or whatever you do. Just do something where you're moving your body for a certain amount of time, because what happens with stress, it triggers our fight or flight. And if something doesn't happen to tell our body you don't have to be in fight or flight anymore, then that chemical stays in your body as well. But that chemical stays in our body. So working out, so Brian understanding this was just like, maybe you should go to the gym. What's going on? When's the last? Have you gone to the gym this week? Maybe you should go today. You know. And so like,
yeah, I just noticed that when you are working out and you are doing stuff like
that's healthy for me.
It's healthy for you. You are in a better mental space. So when your patience is running thin and you know things are just irritating you a little bit more, I see that. Okay, man, let me just suggest.
Yeah, you know? And with Brian, it's the opposite. I tend to be more outwardly expressive, and he is more inwardly. He's a thinker, so he just goes in, and he tends to disassociate more. Yeah. So whether that's on his phone more, or playing more video games, or whatever, it's just more disassociation from being in the present moment. And so that's how I know something's going on with him, and he's not taking care of his mental or physical. So did you learn the same lesson I did, or
you talking about just for that?
The biggest lesson. So mine was love.
Yeah, yours was love.
What's yours?
Mine is knowing your triggers. I think knowing the things that set you off, and not just like make you upset, but things that just make you emotional, you know, or things that are pain points from past situations, whether it's childhood, previous relationships, have been wounds in your life, you know. Knowing some of the issues that I've went through, whether it's abandonment, just disappointment, you know, being dismissed, like certain situations, because in those triggers there's reactions that are not healthy, you know. I realized certain situations where maybe, you know, Rosalind did something to me, or she, you know, a situation happened, you know, whether it's a misunderstanding, but it was triggering. So
it's always a misunderstanding. Everything is a misunderstanding.
So it's like you're seeing the situation through your pain, and you can't fix it. It's kind of like it's like being blind, basically, to the like situation and what's really going on, you know. And then you're trying to fix it, or you're trying to like really like manipulate your partner to feel the same way you feel, you know,
or just see things the way you see it when you're looking through your trauma lens, and it's impossible for them to see it exactly how you see it because they don't share that same lens
or experience.
Yeah,
you know. So I think knowing those kind of like triggers and situations, and through therapy of discovering those things, and that's what really helped me, is discovering those triggers through therapy. That's why we're always going to advocate for like going and get help. You know, we tell everybody, hey man, go to therapy, figure it out, do some self work.
You don't have to struggle to figure things out. Like, to me, there is no victory in the struggle. The victory is in the victory. So however we get there, if we need to recruit a whole team to get to the goal, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Because the lessons we've learned in therapy, like with me just doing therapy on my own, within a year, there was so much I learned and unpacked. And had we even gone to like premarital counseling or something like that to help, just tools. Therapy is great to give you tools to deal with the things. And
yeah, and also just with that, it takes time finding the right one. Just to give you guys a heads up, we went through like what, four or five. Just people,
marriage therapists.
Just marriage therapists
to find the right one.
Just to find the right one. So I know it's hard to reach out, but when you find that person, because I didn't even believe, somebody would care enough to, listen to my feelings.
But, although they went to school, got student loans,
yeah,
paid for it, to literally do that.
Yes,
it's a stigma though too.
It's just what you grow up and you're not used to. But knowing the triggers and knowing what is something that kind of puts you in a place of not wanting to listen, but just only wanting to be heard, that's where you can't solve your problems, and me understanding and knowing those triggers has helped me step out of certain situations and mindsets to where I can truly see the problem, and see it as a us problem instead of me, blaming her, and I realized in certain times where I'll be triggered, I'll be maybe I would say something that wouldn't kind of relate to the issue, or
it would be bigger. So I know trigger is a big word and a popular word, but literally when you're triggered, it's just that your emotional reaction is bigger than what is happening, or deeper than what is happening. And if you ask yourself the right questions, you realize it goes back further than usually even your relationship.
Yeah.
And so it's just unfair to make my therapist, before we even started going to marital counseling, was just it's not fair to make Brian pay for your childhood.
Yeah.
And she said that, and I was just like, oh, yeah, that's true.
And you feel that as a partner. You know, when we were going through a time where we were both not feeling like our best, I was like, man, I'm the person that loves you the most. I love you more than your family, and I'm getting the worst,
That's true.
So it's one of those things. If you know your triggers, you know what when you're experiencing an emotional wound, how to kind of take a moment, heal yourself, or address it, and then kind of move on from there. You know what I'm saying? We've had plenty of conversations where I'm like, hey, I was triggered by this. I'm just not placing a blame on you, but this is how I'm feeling right now, and this is how I need to process and go through it.
Yeah, and it can color the way your spouse responds. So if there have been times where I've literally been talking to Brian and we're frustrated and trying to get the other person to see our perspective, and I'm like, okay, I'm understanding, or I see that I am in this moment, I am feeling triggered by what happened. Yeah. And so when I say that, Brian instantly checks out of defensive mode.
Yeah.
And he moves into supportive mode, right? And so even to say, okay, this is bigger and deeper and then either I can express where this is coming from and why this triggers me. It hurts my feelings when you do this, and it's triggering when you do that, because growing up, this, that happened. And when this happens here, I'm taken back to that place,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to stop that from happening at this moment, where I am in my emotional healing journey. So what I need is for you to stop doing that, because that brings me back to that place, and so he's way more likely in understanding. He's more likely to be like, say less, right? But if I don't say or express any of that, he's just like, I don't understand. I just said this, and this is not my motivation, or this is not my intention to make you feel XYZ. So I don't know why you do feel XYZ.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't make sense. Because again, it's through my trauma lens. It's through my lens of my experiences, and it's impossible for him to wear those lenses. And so when you express, this is a lens that I have on right now. I understand that it's not your fault, and even saying that, you know, is helpful. I know you didn't do all of the, 20 years of whatever.
And acknowledging my intentions. I think that helps too.
Yeah, I know you're not trying to be mean. I know you're not trying to hurt me. I know you love me, and also when you do this, it hurts my feelings. Yeah. And to just say that just so plainly, and not, yelling at him, screaming at him. We do our best to speak respectfully to each other, and just knowing your triggers, I agree, is a big helpful thing, but also being able to clearly express that you're being triggered, and if you have enough emotional space to then express why and what that trigger is rooted in, that's helpful to for your partner to understand you more. And you'd move through conflict much quicker, I think.
We've learned, even recently, just sometimes let's take a break. Let's talk about it in a few, just so we can have clarity in certain situations. Because if you're seeing through that lens, you're gonna be up till like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to work through that same lens, or just fit that, that square into that round peg, and it's just not working, to make everything come together. So, just taking a moment, realizing, that there's a wound that's deeper that's going on, and acknowledging it and moving from there. And once you do that, you can move and you can see the situation clearly.
Yeah. And I didn't used to be, but I am definitely an advocate for taking a break, sleeping on it. I know don't let the sun set on your anger. Maybe they meant die, because on obituaries where they be like sunrise, sunset.
Yeah. Yeah, and
maybe they mean like don't die and still be angry at somebody, because like really a good night's sleep, and you wake up, you will be so surprised how like just emotionally restored you are the next day, and you're able to see things with a clearer head, or you're able to express things more clearly, and you're just understood easier, or you're able to understand easier. And just honestly, because when you're tired, when we're both tired at this point, we are rounding our mid-30s, and so when we're tired, it just gets, we're tired in all the ways. Once you're physically tired, and like Ryan said, it's 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and you're not making much sense in general. We're talking in circles. And then you're frustrated because you're talking in circles,
and you're not getting closer. And then you feel bad if you want to end a conversation because you're tired, and then you're like, whether it's both of us, we both been to the point where we're falling asleep, and then that person's not responding. Now you're even more hurt. So sometimes, even though it may still hurt to stop that conversation, it's better to go to sleep, wake up, and even if to deal with the hurt, to wake up and be like, okay, we're gonna go at it again. But just sometimes to keep going at it.
And if you take a break, like schedule when you're gonna come back to it. Don't just take a break and it's an abstract idea of like when, because if you happen to be an anxious attached person like me, then first of all, taking a break is a very difficult thing to start doing and practicing in the first place. But having a time when you're going to return to the conversation. So sometimes, like the other day, Brian started talking to me, and first of all, he's an early riser, so he had been up for hours. I'm getting up, and he's talking to me and trying to problem solve, and I'm just like, we gonna have to talk about this in a little bit when I am fully awake, because I haven't even drank water yet. You know what I mean? Like I have.
Have nothing in your body yet. I'm like, hey,
Nothing in my
man,
body, and he's just talking. I'm just like, this is not going to work. You know, and we're in practice of it enough where it's not an offensive thing to do.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was awkward, and it was like
it's a weird thing.
You're getting your feelings a little bit when the other person is like, let's talk about it later because you're in the mood to talk about it now. Mm-hmm. And it's not always about like.
Especially me, I like to, avoid those hard conversations, So I'm like, hey man, I'm ready. I'm bringing it up, and it's because I'm ready now.
Yeah, he's done thought about it all the ways.
Yeah.
From all the angles that he can conceive, and he's hyped himself up to have a conversation because he tends to be more avoidant.
Yep.
And so I hyped myself up. I got the nerve for this conversation. So for me to be like, we'll talk about it later.
And I'm like, later. I said, girl, you better talk about it now. Because I'm going to be like.
And I said what I said, and we'll talk about it later.
But we've gotten better just coming and talking to each other about those things.
Yeah, it's a safe thing, especially when you get in the habit of scheduling when the later is. So usually it's like we'll talk about it after our son goes to bed. And it's not that we don't talk about things around him, because we do. Yeah. We have no problem. What's the word? Conflict resolution, like displaying and modeling conflict resolution for him, because we are very respectful usually in our conversations and our conflict resolution. But sometimes we just want the day to think about it and to like process and even check in with God and be like, how am I feeling about that? Like, is what I'm feeling right? Or what's your perspective, God, on this? And how should I be thinking of this? And a lot of times when we do that and spend that time to like individually check in with God, we come back with such greater, deeper perspective and understanding.
Yes.
And I'll
say this way: God has saved us, and it will even save me in plenty of conversations and just things or situations where God has. I'll be like, hey God, I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did wrong, or just like.
And then God will tell me to go apologize.
Yeah.
And so Brian over there fretting, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry, babe. God said this, that, and he's just like, what?
And I'm like, oh, thank you. You love me. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? But it's been a situation, or even God will come to me and be like, hey man, you were wrong for this. Go apologize. For this. And then helping me understand my emotions or where my mistake was, so yeah, taking that time to ask him. And then also like sometimes with Owen, our child, being around, we don't like to have, your child needs attention, and you don't want to have that frustration, at them when he's like, or when they're like, hey, can I get some food, or can I
yeah,
can I
you're in the
this?
middle of like
Hey.
conflict resolution and like a heated discussion.
Look what I can do, and you're like, I'm trying to talk.
Yeah.
To your mom.
Yeah. So he deserves our attention. Yeah, and so we sometimes will put a lot of times we'll put what we're talking about to the side if it's not a pressing issue. It doesn't need to be solved right now, and we'll put it to the side and we'll compartmentalize and we'll be in parent mode when he's home from school.
Or if you have the patience, it's really too about just the patience to be able to deal with him and at the same time.
Yeah, that's a lot of brain space.
Yeah, it's just a lot of work that it can be. So like, man, don't. Sometimes if you feel like you are about to get out of pocket or raise your voice, I do tend to want to, have kind of order.
Who are you yelling at?
Well, who I'm yelling at?
You don't be raising your voice at me.
No, but you know how my tone does raise. Like if I am talking to like Owen, like I'm trying to have order. You know what I'm saying? You get that
the dad voice.
You get the
okay,
dad
I thought you was
tone.
talking about raise your voice at me.
No, I'm not talking about yelling because I don't yell. You already know that. I don't.
I know. I'm about to say you ain't finna be telling the people.
There's no need to like no, but I'll get dad tone and I don't want to get that unnecessary tone with my child.
Because it's powerful.
Yeah, especially.
I don't know if you got a man in your life.
Especially if it's not
and a child. But even when I worked at a daycare, and I worked in the 2-year-old room, if you have ever, you know, and the kids were just.
Everybody get mad look.
It was an FU teacher day, and they were just running wild, and nothing I was saying or doing, none of my normal tricks were working, and they were just committed to wilderness, acting like they were just out in the wilderness, but in the classroom. And a dad came in the room, and he was like, "Hey!" He didn't even yell; he just said, "Hey!" And them kids sat down, and I was just like,
"They did wrong."
There's something about masculine energy, though, with children, and they snap to attention. They just listen.
They better know. You gotta let them know. Anyway, we like to end our shows with a way that we felt loved by each other. I think this week I felt loved by when you helped me out with Owen. You had which called Make the Rice. You know, we alternate nights and taking care of our child. So
and cooking dinner.
Because
I got a good one.
Yeah, so it's it's you know, it's a thing, you know, where we cook and she helped me, you know. I'm not saying that your spouse shouldn't automatically do that, you know what I'm saying? But you should also recognize when, you know, your spouse is going out their way and helping you out in a way that release stress. So I felt loved and cared about, you know, when she did that for me.
Yeah, they were running late. I forgot what was going on.
I had to go to the store.
But something else happened before that. Either way, they were at the store.
We was at the park. Went to the
park and then had to go to the store after, and so it was just longer. And dinner was fried rice, and usually we'll make the rice. I don't know if you've ever made fried rice, but if you want cold rice, but cooked. And so usually we'll make it the day before and put it in the fridge and, you know, cook it the next night, or we'll make it that morning. And we both forgot. And so I was just like, you didn't make the rice. And so I made the rice, and then I put it in the freezer so it could like cool down real quick before they got home. But yeah, just cause. Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, your turn.
I felt loved by you when I got home the other day from going to the store. And I didn't ask you to help with the groceries. I had parked, and I guess the dog let Brian know that I was home because I didn't. Sometimes I'll text like, "Hey, can you help with the groceries?" You know, and sometimes I'll sit in the car for a while.
Yeah, on that phone,
playing games and just taking time in the quiet, in the car.
That parent time in the car.
Yes, because I didn't sit in the car when it was just us.
Yeah, you didn't. I did sometimes. No, that's just a man thing. I decompress, and I don't want to bring in work to you like that. And it wasn't from you. It was just taking that moment, you know what I'm saying, to get my mind right.
Anyway. I didn't say anything. I didn't call for him because it was just a couple of bags, so I didn't need help. But he came out anyway, and he didn't just take the bags from me. He was coming to get me. You know what I mean? And so he was just like, "Come on, let's go." And I didn't send for him, and so it just made me feel loved. I was like, "Oh, I feel so loved. You came to get me." You know? And I didn't feel rushed. Sometimes I feel rushed when you are like, "Come on, let's go."
Let's go. It's time.
It was gentle masculine energy, so it felt loving, and that's when I felt loved by you.
Well, all right, guys. Well, we'll probably see you guys another time. We are thankful for this time and this moment that we got to share with you, and we hope to be able to continue.
If you have anything you want us to talk about, just drop it in the comments. Anything at all. I mean, we're pretty open about whatever. But if it's not your business, we'll say that.
Yeah.
And we've gotten pretty good at setting boundaries over the years.
Yeah.
And
remember to like, subscribe, comment. And we'll see you guys next time. Yes, we gotta get followers. We gotta
like it if you like it.
We gotta build a community.
Like it if you like it. Subscribe if you want to see more.
Yeah, exactly. I subscribe. You know how many YouTube channels I'm subscribed to?
No.
You know, because I like the content. So if you like it, subscribe.
Yeah. If you like it, like it. If not, you don't have to.
Like this.